And I'm just going to disable your unmute here in case if you have any questions. Feel free to interrupt me over a chat, or I can unmute you during the course and you can shoot your question. The course contents are already available here. It is available on the website. You can go to this page here, click on course and Amazon. So everything that you need is already available here. So spend some time, take a look at it. All right, then let's get started. So what is it that we'll be covering? What is it that we'll be focusing at? What certification areas that we want to learn, right? Because we have a mixed audience here. We have audience who have 10 years of experience. We also have audience who have 2 years of experience and everything in between. So it is very important that we take a journey in such a way that you all understand AWS from basic, from 101, and gradually you move to every stage and we take you to the advanced journey. So that is the direction that we'll be taking. I understand that you're experienced, but probably you're new to cloud. So if you see on my screen right now, there are 3 certification tracks that are available. Foundational track. Foundational track is grayed out. This is an optional track. If you see here, it says optional, optional, optional. Basically, the certificate program is designed for a candidate who has 20-25 years of IT experience, who mostly does not do technical work, but anchors project delivery, right? A general manager kind of a candidate is what is looking for a cloud practitioner trainer who wants to set up a cloud practice in their office, right? At the 80,000 feet high, they want to gather information at a very high level, mostly not looking for low level technology knowledge or wants to dirty his hands with technical work, right? So the foundational track is for those candidates. Associate and professional is for you and me, right? Um, Candidates having a 0 to 2 and 2 to 4 years experience that we are looking at, and maybe 4 to 6 years of experience, right? Who comes from a Windows, Linux, database, storage, networking, right? Monitoring background. Those candidates would usually focus their career with sysops administration, right? They're administrator, they're L1, they're L2, they're L3. They are perceiving their journey right now, and those candidates will be focusing at AWS sysops administration program, right? Candidate having a development experience who do not come from an infrastructure background, who do not come from an administrative background, but who writes code, Java, PHP, Node.js, who develops code, and mostly this is focused for those candidates. If you are a developer, then you should be focusing on developer associate track. If you're not an administrator or infrastructure professional, candidates having 8+ years of experience, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 14 that we are looking at, those candidates should typically focus on architect associate paper, right? So any paper that you write, it is valid for 2 years, right? Only your 10th standard, 12 engineering marks cards are valid for life. Anything else that you do, anything else that you do is valid for 2, 3, 4 years that we're looking at, right? So any of the track that you take, you have 2 years before the certification expires. So you would like to upgrade yourself and write the next version of the paper. So if you have done architect associate, then you can do architect professional, which is a specialization, right? Again, if you have done developer, you can do DevOps engineer professional. Likewise, if you have done sysops administration, you can still do DevOps engineer professional. So this DevOps engineer professional and this DevOps engineer professional is the exact same paper. What AWS is trying to articulate here is they're trying to say, hey, if you're a developer, you can still go to DevOps. If you're a system operator or system administrator, you can still do DevOps. But if you have done architect associate, then you can do architect professional. Now, if you see, the arrows are very clearly pointing, if you have done this, you can do this. If you have done this, you can do this. If you have done this, you will do this. Clear? The associate paper examination fee will cost you $150, about 10,000 rupees INR, right? That you need to pay to AWS. I can help you out. How do you pay to AWS and reserve your seat? How do you generate your student ID? I will walk you through and I'll help you out with that. Should not be a problem. right? And then you have a professional track. Any paper that you write under professional track, this will cost you 300 USD, about 20,000 rupees. Again, this is something that you directly pay to Amazon and book your seat. Right, I'm going to help you out with that. Now let's understand what is it that we'll be covering in this training today, right? So anywhere that you go, any organization that you perceive your career today, they ask you four things, right? They ask you some amount of operating system knowledge, such as Windows and Linux. The second skill set that you're looking at is they expect you to know cloud, AWS, Azure, Google, some cloud technology knowledge that you need. The third thing they expect you is you also need to know DevOps, traditional DevOps, DevOps in the cloud. And fourth expertise that they look in your resume is automation, somebody who can do automation, orchestration, right? So these are the four tracks that you need in order to skill and be relevant in the world today, right? So what this training would do is this training will cover basics of operating system. This training will cover cloud, specifically AWS in detail. We will also cover DevOps on cloud. Automation is something that we do not cover in this training. You may have to take up a programming training from a Python trainer or Java trainer to acquire automation knowledge. But otherwise, out of four skill sets that are needed for you to succeed, three of them we will be addressing it here. So, since mostly this training is around cloud and DevOps, what papers are we covering in the training? Let's also understand that. So in this particular training, we'll be focusing on sysops administration. We will also be doing DevOps engineer. We'll also do solution architect here, and then solution architect professional. Since this DevOps engineer is the same paper, it is neutral. The only paper that we will not be covering in this training is developer associate. Except this developer associate, we'll be covering system sysops administrator, DevOps engineer, architect associate, and architect professional. So these are the four papers that we will be covering in this training, right? So this is clear. So what is it after training that we'll be doing? We'll be doing five things after this training, right? So most probably we'll be helping you out to prepare your resume, right? It is very important because every candidate story is unique. You cannot go on the internet and pick up a stuff and update on your CV. It does not work that way, right? So you need to sit with your trainer. You have to seek your trainer's time who can put together some thought process with you and able to come up with a story where he can natively show your cloud experience with the existing work that you have done. So that thing has to reflect clearly in your resume, point number one. Point number two is you're required to be prepared for the interview. A trainer will work with you to educate you on art on how to crack an interview. Right. Just to give an example here, if you sit in an interview, a lot of times what happens, any new technology that you acquire, you will not have adequate knowledge, right, on back of your head. You attend an interview and you don't make it, and you get disappointed. And this is very important that you work with your trainer and understand how to crack an interview, right? If I tell you what work you have done today, what technology that you're working with, at least you will spend 20 minutes articulating your daily work, what damage control you have done, what is your day in day out task that you do. All those things you can narrate me, right? But when you learn new technology, it is very difficult. So this workshop will enable you to make sure that you crack your interviews. How? We do a lot of solution based live projects here. So this will help you out to memorize and remember what projects that you have built, and you can go and articulate that in the training, sorry, in the interview. Third thing is finding a job, right? We have built our own job channel also here. So time to time we find jobs for you. If you see here, we are maintaining a Slack channel where you will have access to. And if you see, we have found one AWS architect job in Bangalore, 25 jobs we have found in DevOps here, right? This is today's data that I'm talking about. Let's see what is happening yesterday. So yesterday we found 39 DevOps jobs, right? 60 overall AWS associate jobs, 3 AWS architect jobs, and then 2 more DevOps jobs, right? So you don't have to go and find jobs. We will only find jobs and give it to you. All you have to do is just apply, right? So we will prepare your resume, we'll prepare you for the interview, we'll only find and give you jobs, right? And what is next? Once you place, you have to work. you have to work and you want someone to help you out. So what we have done is we have created an on-job assistance portal here, and if you see, we have over 297 students that are already registered, and these students are mine. I have trained them. So if you have any questions, you can post your question here, and I will do most of the answering. If I'm traveling and if I'm unavailable, you have your seniors who can jump and rescue you at work. So I'll give you on-job assistance to make sure that your job is also a smooth sailing after this training, right? So after that, what is next? Revision. So sometimes what happens, students will not understand the training the first time, right? So they need special attention. They are required to attend multiple times. So this training would allow you to attend multiple revisions. You can attend as many times as you want, as long as you want, even in an event if you have missed the class, or in an event where you have attended the whole class but you want to redo it again, right? You're free to attend revisions as many times as you want, right? And finally, examination preparation, right? We can help you out to crack your examination. We have developed our own quiz system here, right? So we have prepared a quiz, interactive quiz. This simulates real exam experience here. A system will throw a question at you. If you see here, question number one, right? A system will throw a question at you, and you have these boxes to tick. And if you see, over 280 students have already attempted for the paper here, right? So you can take this interactive examination here, and if you fail, if you get wrong answers, it is all right. The system will tell you the right answers. Are you with me? The system will guide you, the system will give you right answers. You can retake this exam again. And if you clear this exam multiple times, and if you're confident that you have got all the answers right, right? Of course, after several failure, then you're ready to go and write real world exam. And these are all the dumps that we update time and time. If AWS recently changed their paper, they updated their paper, and we have latest dumps and we have updated them here. So time and again, we periodically find questions and we update them here. So you'll always have access to latest questions. So you can always come back and attempt these questions again, and you can see how you're performing it, and you can go back and redo your real exam there. Right? You don't have to pay for a dumps also. This is also free. And over a period of time, what happens? You have already worked, and you come back and say, "Hey, right? It's great that I found a job through your system. I was working there, but perhaps I'm not happy with what I'm doing. I might want to go back to another organization. Can you help me out?" The answer is yes. We periodically keep finding jobs for you till rest of your life, and you can apply as many jobs as you want and as long as you want, and you can keep changing it. We don't have issues. Are we clear? So these are the things that we do in order to ensure that we don't not only deliver a quality training, but post-training experience is also excellent there, so that you can enjoy the post-training experience. You can stay connected to trainer even after the training is done, right? And the relationship will start from there. So if you have any questions, I will take them now, or I will proceed further. Please, could you share the link? Okay, I will share you the link. There you go, buddy. Are you with me so far, guys? Could you reply yes, no in the chat? Yes, we'll be covering four paper here: SysOps, DevOps, Architect Associate, and Architect Professional. So these are all the four papers that we'll be covering, Suraj. Kian, what question you have, Kian? What is your query, Kian? Okay. Okay, while Kian is typing the question, let's continue the discussion, and then I will take the question when the question arrives in the chat. Okay. Now, why do we call cloud, right? You hear a lot of buzzword on the internet, right? And you've been told that you're attending a cloud training. Why are we calling it cloud? Why don't we call it as ocean, right? Why don't we call it as sky? Why don't we call it as galaxy? Why do we call it as cloud? Guys, any guesses? Guys, this question is for you. Access to everyone from anywhere. So I think ocean will also give you access to anyone and anywhere, right? You can take a ship on an ocean and you can go and you can circle the entire all the continents that we have. Come on, guys, you guys are very smart. You could give a better answer than that. Okay, so while you guys are researching on the internet or while you guys are thinking the answer, I'll continue with the lecture. I'll come back and expect you to give me an answer. Right, so let's try to keep this session interactive. Let's not do it mundane session where I only get to speak. Right, I would strongly encourage you to participate. This training is for you. Right, so let's understand. Right, so as Mahesh said, you can access resources from anywhere, right, in the world. Right, so why now? We had this 40 years ago, right? Maybe India was late to catch up. India had dial-up connection. We did not had a great broadband infrastructure. We were late to party. We had slow net. We all understand that, right? It is now that we have a highly reliable and better broadband services that are made available. But otherwise, 10, 15 years ago, we were into legacy dial-up, and prior to that, we never heard of internet, right? So let's understand, right, the evolution of various data centers, because though we had dial-up, we could access Yahoo Mail, we could access AOL, right? We had a lot of other websites that could work off of an internet, which were hosted in US and you could access here in India, right? So why? What exactly happened, right? Let's understand that. So this story starts in 80s, right? Between 80s and 90s. Before 80s, what we had mainframes. So we're not going to talk about mainframes today. Not relevant, but we're going to talk about the data center evolution. So this all started from 80s and 90s, right? We had all our email services provided to us over an internet. We had hosted experiences provided to us over an internet. A lot of things were available over the internet. We could access that pornography, right? Information, knowledge, science, videos. Everything was available, and other first world countries could consume this over an internet because they had better internet infrastructure. It is we that we lagged behind, but everything was there. Anything could have been accessed through an internet, right? So what happened in 80s and 90s is, if you think today you have a smartphone, right? So if your SIM card is not working, you cannot get connected to the world. We understand that. So there is no internet on your phone. You cannot make a call because your SIM card is not working or your network is not working. Point number one, right? If your storage screws up, you will lose all your pictures. If your CPU does not work, your memory does not work, your phone will not work, an operating system will not load. So that means a single point of failure. If your storage doesn't work, you lose data. If your processor doesn't work, your phone does not work. Your memory does not work, your phone does not work. Your network does not work, your phone does not work. Likewise, laptop, if you see today, again you have four components: CPU, memory, network, and storage. If you do not connect to a network, you cannot get connected to the world, right? If your storage dies, all your data will be lost. If your CPU and memory is not working, your laptop will not function correctly. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to solve a single point of failure, right? Your smartphone has two SIM cards. Today you have dual network on your laptop. A laptop can not only connect through a Wi-Fi, it can connect through an Ethernet, right? So you always have redundancies to ensure that if one fails, the other one can take over, right? So in 80s and 90s, what happened? The first generation data center happened in the hardware world. right? A redundancy was introduced where, right? One network card became two, two became four, four became six, eight. One hard drive became two, four, six, eight. Two core processor, four core, 16 GB RAM, 32 GB RAM, right? So the redundancy was introduced in the hardware world, where over a period of time, in the last 10 years that we are looking at, the hardware industry went on steroids. It went on steroids and it became far more powerful, right? And that is how the data center establishment happened, where you can remotely have a powerful computer sitting there, which is fail proof, which has redundant capabilities. Even a portion of the system fails you, the system will continue to operate, right? And this was an evolution of first generation data center. So in the second generation data center, this was between 90s and 2000, right? 90s, and most of you were born here 91, 92, 93. I'm pretty sure someone might have born in 95. I was born in 80s, right? So in the second generation data center evolution, right? Because the hardware industry went on steroids, the operating system which was running on top of it could not keep up with the hardware evolution, right? It is now that you have a 64-bit operating system which can support more than 4 gigabytes of memory from last 8-10 years that we are looking at. Otherwise, we still had that 32-bit operating system which could only address 4 GB of RAM. So with that said, right, back in 90s and 2000, we did not have an operating system which could take full advantage of the underlying hardware that was there. Hence, a platform technology was introduced called virtualization. A technology was introduced called virtualization. So what basically a virtualization does is it takes your CPU, RAM, storage, and network and creates a virtual barrier. It creates a virtual barrier, and on top of it, you can now install operating system. For example, Windows here, Linux, Linux. Okay. So the yellow line that you see is a virtualization layer. So what this virtualization does is it's an operating system again, right? But it's not a full-fledged operating system. It is designed to run multiple operating systems on top of it, right? Think as if this is your basement, this is your foundation, this is your parking, and you have multiple buildings or multiple apartments built on top of it. So introduction of virtualization happened where they took only two components here, CPU and memory. CPU and memory were the two components which were first virtualized. So you can call this as a half-cooked product, right? So a lot of people heard of VMware as a virtualization platform, but most of you does not know that VMware was not first to party. You had Microsoft, you had Citrix, Zen, you had 50 different companies who were playing in virtualization space, but VMware was a late entry to the virtualization world, but VMware got it right. VMware saw what competitions were doing and what mistakes they were doing. They learned from their mistakes and they designed the product which nailed it. So though VMware was not the first player in the field here, but VMware got it right. So this crown goes to VMware, right? So VMware was a market dominance. A lot of people wanted to learn VMware. They acquired VMware knowledge from 3.5, 4, 5, 6 that we're looking at, and they got into the virtualization world. It's the second generation data center iteration. Now third generation from 2000 to 2010, right? We moved into a world where we call this world a software defined data center. So under software defined data center, software defined storage was introduced and software defined network was introduced. So that means the other two components that you have here was also further virtualized. Let me give some color here. Praveen, yes, Praveen, go ahead, Praveen. What question you have?
No, no questions. You can proceed.
Then why have you unmuted yourself? You're right, absolutely correct, Mahesh. No limitations for the infrastructure, storage, CPU, memory, 99.99% SLA availability. We can talk about that. Low cost, absolutely correct. Previously, also you could get services for nearly for free, right? You never had to pay for it. You could have taken most of the services that were free anyways. But you're absolutely correct, Mahesh. Most of the points what you have got is right, right? And then we now are into fourth generation data center, right? This is from 2010 to, so we are not in 2020 right now. So I'm going to make it till date. So in a fourth generation data center right now, and where are we? What are we doing? Right? So we have moved from, we were into pure play hardware, then we moved into a virtualization world, and then we moved everything into further virtualized. And instead of calling virtualization, we started calling software defined data center. That means every aspect of your hardware is now controlled with the software, right? So what is after that? After that is orchestration. Orchestration and automation. It is from last 3 4 5 years you're hearing that orchestration automation. So can someone tell me what is orchestration, what is automation? Nupun says AI. Artificial intelligence, yes, but it's the next version of automation and orchestration. Probably would like to take a step back from AI and then understand what is automation and orchestration. So if you have attended your marriage or your friend's marriage, right, you usually call orchestra. An orchestra will come and they will play music. There'll be musicians, right? So taking that as an example, um, okay, so I'm trying to find an image that can, okay, something like this. So you see this guy here. So this guy is called orchestrator, a better one, right? So this guy who is dictating them, or the guy who will stand here, is called orchestra or orchestrator, and all the other people are automation or musicians. So when the orchestrator or orchestra holds a stick and say, hey, you play a higher note, you play a lower note, the musicians or an automations will take that as an input and they will perform or give a collaborative performance together for an outcome, right? So that is the difference between an automation and orchestration. So when you say orchestra is a collection of automation, sequence them in an order to execute. An automation is a simple task, right? Select an operating system can be an automation. Restart stop machine is also an automation, right? Adding a storage, extending a storage can be an automation, right? But doing everything together, where you need an orchestrator, where orchestrator can sequence them in an order and then shoot automation at a time and then wait for an outcome and then go back and retry something else. So that is a difference between an orchestration and automation. Automation is a simple workflow or a step. Orchestration is a collection or an administrator which puts together and execute them in an order or in a sequence. Go ahead, Rahul. You have any questions? Rahul, okay. Automation is a process where work's being done without involving a person. Absolutely correct. Orchestration spinning a machine automatically. Infrastructure code for automation. Return to script. I think second one also is an automation, Mahesh. So both the points that you have articulated is an automation, right? Orchestration is basically a collection of automation, sequence them in an order, and it has executed in a timely fashion is called orchestration. Okay, let's continue further. Any more questions that I see here? Mm, okay, let's continue. right? So what happened was all the work that manually we used to do is now been automated, right? Typical provisioning a machine, deleting a machine, taking a backup, anything, any administrative work that we typically do as a manual work is now been orchestrated and automated. Because they have orchestrated and automated, now things have changed, right? Now things have changed, right? So things have changed, and now you have models such as platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, right? Desktop or database as a service, this as a service, that as a service, head as a service. All those new models were introduced from last 8-10 years because of this automation, where with few clicks a machine can be provisioned, a few clicks something can be built, right? That is a world that we are in, right? Excuse me, this is not fourth generation, my bad. Let's call this 3.5 generation, which is an iteration of software defined data center, right? And then let's talk about fourth generation here. So fourth generation, again, there are different data of births that you have here, right? Different data births. When I say different data births, assuming if it is AWS, then this was in year 2006. If you're talking about date of birth of Azure, this was 2011. Date of birth of Google Cloud. I'm not talking about Google itself, but for Google Cloud. So there are different date of births that are available here. So I am not pretty sure. Since we are working on AWS lecture, will mostly focus on AWS date of birth here, right? So probably I'm going to call this 2006 till date, something like this, which makes sense, right? So from 2006 that we have started AWS, Azure, it's this, there's a different date of birth, and there's a different date of birth for Google also, right? So what happened after orchestration and automation is, like rightfully, who was it? Right, Nupun. Nupun said AI, artificial intelligence is bought in, machine learning is bought in, deep learning is there, right? Where machines can predict and understand what is it needed, right? So I would not call AI, I would probably call this as a service oriented architecture, right? So when I say service oriented architecture, I can take AI as a service, AI as a service, I can say, right? So I can say machine learning as a service, right? So I can now consume various things as a service, which is beyond infrastructure, beyond software, and beyond platform, right? I can take database as a service, Active Directory as a service, storage as a service. Because I'm working in a service oriented architecture model, I can take different services, I can put them together. In case of a traditional 3.5 generation data center, your classification was pretty limited. You did not have AI as a service. You have to build an AI as a service, where you take a platform as a service such as Linux or Windows, and on top of it you build an AI. On top of it you build machine learning. On top of it you have to build something. But here on AWS or on a fourth generation data center use case that we're looking at, because now we're talking about service oriented architecture, AI is now provided as a service. We don't have to build anything. We have to click couple of buttons and it is presented to you. You're getting my point? So we are in a service oriented architecture world, and we are in the fourth generation data center, right? And cloud is just a buzzword. Nowhere on the AWS website also, if you go there, right? For example, where is it? So if you go here, nowhere it says, hey, AWS is a cloud. No. Amazon says Amazon is one web services company. Amazon is one web services company. That is why you call it as Amazon Web Services. All the services are delivered over a web. So it's a web services delivery, web services over an internet. So that is why Amazon Web Services, they are not saying I'm cloud. Nowhere on their website they'll say I am cloud. Even when you pass your certification, they will not print on your certification that you're a solution architect cloud. They will say AWS solution architect. Are you getting my point? Are you with me so far? Right? So the same thing will also apply with Azure here. If you go to Azure, right? So your version, your cloud, but if you see here, it says Microsoft Azure. They do not say it's an Azure cloud, right? They clearly say that it is Microsoft Azure here, right? So then now come back and understand why are we calling it cloud. Cloud is just a buzzword. Cloud is just a buzzword stating that you have a remote data center located somewhere else where you can consume your services over an internet. And prior to cloud, we had clusters. Prior to clusters, we had grid computing. There were a lot of nomenclatures that we had, but in a nutshell, the groundwork here is it's a fourth generation data center owned and operated by AWS for us to consume. Are we clear so far? Yes, 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 no, maybe. Okay, right. Now let's understand a little story about 2006. What happened? What was the purpose of AWS doing this? Right. So what happened is in year 2002. In year 2002, so the year 2002 is somewhere here. So somewhere here at the beginning of the third generation data center, right, there was no software defined data center model existed, and there was no automation and orchestration existed. I'm talking about year in 2002, right? So most of you were in school, even I was in school, right? So that is the year that I'm talking about. So they wanted to solve 5 problems. First thing is they wanted to solve single point of failure. They wanted to introduce redundancy in the virtual world. The redundancy model, the redundancy was already there in the hardware, right? Too many RAMs, too many processor cores, multiple processors on the board, multiple network cards, multiple storages. Those redundancies were already built on the hardware. But it was very new in the virtualization, and this did not exist in the virtualization world, right? So they wanted to bring redundancy to mitigate single point of failure. They also wanted to make sure that the application is highly available, always available. This feature did not exist then. They wanted to have load balancing, able to distribute traffic across, because Amazon's heritage is e-commerce. They sell stuff on the internet, and their bread and butter is their portal, and they want the continuity of the system to function. If the system fails, they cannot sell stuff. So they wanted to make sure that it is load balanced so that it can continue to serve, right? They wanted to auto scale, right? That means if they have 10 customers, they want to service. If they have 10,000 customers, they want to scale. If there's 10 lakh customers, they want to scale. The system did not exist in 2002. Auto scaling, self healing, right? So a typical issue comes in, we'll at least take 5 minutes to log in and check. We devote our 5 minutes of energy just to log in and check. But Amazon wanted to solve this problem within 5 minutes. Any issue comes in, it wanted to self heal. Assume that you're chopping onion, you're cutting onion, and you accidentally slice your finger. There's a cut on your finger. But if you leave that for some days, it will self heal. It will repair the finger. So you wanted to self heal the infrastructure upon failure, unattended without human intervention. So these were the 5 things they wanted to solve. So they went to VMware. I said, hey, Mr. VMware, come here, right? See, we are into a commerce business and we have these 5 challenges. Can you develop a product for us? VMware said, hey, we have other priorities. We are doing a lot of other things. We cannot do this for you. Then they went to Microsoft. Microsoft said, hey, I have other things to do. They went to Citrix, other things to do. So nobody helped them out to solve their problem. And Amazon knew that there was no product that existed anywhere in the world that they could have used to solve these 5 problems, right? So what happened was, one of the engineer like you went to the Google was there, remember? Google was there. He went to Google and he typed open, he just Googled open source hypervisor, and he landed up to this page, right? And it's a part of a Linux Foundation, Linux community. So he went to this page, he downloaded this software, right? He downloaded this software into his laptop, and then he took this into his pen drive. He went to his office and said, hey, I found an open source hypervisor software that is there on the internet. Can we use that and can we build all these features? And because no product exists which could solve this problem then, and no company wanted to address this then, Amazon did it itself. And in 2006, they launched AWS, and rest is history. Rest is history, and today you guys are learning the technology. Are you with me? Right? And today they're number one when when they're competing with other vendors, and other vendors are following their suit, such as Google and Azure are now following what AWS is trying to do. Right? So in 2002, they started working on this, and in 2003, 4, 5, they completed the project. They finished how system works. They started implementing themselves. They saw the benefit, they saw the advantage, and they knew that something like this does not exist in the internet, does not exist in the world. And they knew that these similar problems are faced by other customers. What if we could open this to the world? What if we could give it to the world? And that is how the birth of Amazon Web Services happened, where they started giving their designs to somebody else, and somebody else could bring their business and run it on AWS. Right? So this is a small story that you need to understand. This is how AWS came into an existence. Um, After their R&D, their development, and even till today, the foundation is Zen. The entire AWS is built on top of this open source project. Right? So let's compare this. Right? So let's compare this. So you have similar products on the internet today. EX6 from VMware. You have Hyper-V from Microsoft. Um, Zen open source that I've also discussed. There's a commercial version of that from Citrix, KVM. So these are the various hypervisors that we have to administrate and manage this. You will use vCenter. You will use vSphere to manage Hyper-V System Center Virtual Machine Manager. You will use Citrix Zen Manager for this. OpenStack for this, right? And since the entire AWS was built on Zen, they did a lot of iterations to the product itself. They did a lot of innovations around it, and they called the first generation hypervisor ParaVirtual. First generation hypervisor is called ParaVirtual, right? This is not available in most of the new regions such as Mumbai and couple of others, but this is an old platform that is still supported in Virginia because customers are using it and customers enjoy it. There's no problem with that, right? The next generation of this is called HVM, Hardware Virtual Machine. And today, the latest version that AWS is using, which is again the derivative of Zen, is called HVM, Hardware Virtual Machine. And to manage Hardware Virtual Machine, you will use AWS Web Console. So, what is the Web Console? This is the Web Console that you will use. There's no native software that you can use or install on your system to build machines. You can use this. The other way along with this to use is AWS CLI. You can use CLI through a command line. You can still provision, you can still build, you can do all that. Not that I'm not saying that this does not support CLI. EXS has its own CLI. Hyper-V also supports PowerShell. This supports Linux. This supports Linux, right? Doable. But AWS has its own version of it. Right. So in today's lecture, we're going to focus on HVM and we're going to focus on building machines. Some basic labs that we will do, right? And then I want you guys to get familiar with. Are we clear, boys and girls? How many of you doesn't have an AWS account? Rahul, I see that you're not seeing the screen, Rahul. How the developer in the company access the services in real world. Mahesh, this I will demonstrate in the DevOps class where you can create a programmatical user. There are a lot of third-party tools that are available, and using an application programming interface, which is also known as API, we can orchestrate and administrate resources on AWS. So I'm assuming that everyone has AWS account. Awesome. Excellent. All right, then let's dive in then. So if everyone has, then we can do labs, right? So once you log in, this is how a screen would look like, right? So in case, remember, if you have any unexpected charges on your account, or if you accidentally exceed free tier, do not hesitate. Reach out to me. I'll help you out to get the waiver. Point number one, right? So the first thing is you have all the support center here. You have, if you something is not working or you have issues with anything, you can always come here, create a support ticket. You documentations are available. There's some training programs that are available that I want you to participate, right? And if I further scroll down here, you have learned to build either a couple of other training materials that are available. Some are there with videos and some are there with presentations that you can follow. I strongly encourage you to participate and learn things. The additional training contents that are available here, right? So what is important is availability regions here. So as soon as you click here, there are over 16, 17 regions that are available. Usually it is more than 20, but there are government regions that are not exposed to us, right? These are the only regions that are available, right? Virginia, Ohio, California, Oregon, my favorite, Mumbai. I do a lot of my projects off of Mumbai data center, right? You have Singapore, Sydney, Tokyo, right? Canada, Frankfurt, Ireland, London, Paris. So there are a lot of regions that are available, right? So what is region? Again, um, just to develop a culture in you, right? So let's assume that you have two friends. One friend happens to carry an iPhone and the other friend happens to carry a most expensive Android phone. It could be Samsung or whatever that we look in, most expensive version of Android. You always do this brand distinguish, because when you're talking to your friend and when you're borrowing a phone to make a phone call, a person who is having an iPhone, you will say, buddy, give me your iPhone. You will never say, give me your mobile phone or give me your handset. But a person, irrespective of having an expensive phone, will say, hey buddy, can you pass me your phone, I need to make a call. There is a brand distinguish that you developed, right? Apple has made you develop and Apple has made you think differently for Apple products. So likewise, let's just take this scenario a little further. One friend happens to have a MacBook and another friend happens to have a most expensive Windows machine, a lappy Windows lappy, right? So when you're borrowing a laptop from your friend to check your email, if it is a MacBook, you will always say, give me a MacBook. You will never say, buddy, give me a laptop. You will do brand distinguishing. You will say, give me a MacBook, right? Even if you have a most expensive laptop, you will say, hey, give me your laptop. Doesn't matter, right? So this is called brand distinguish, and AWS wants you to do brand distinguish. You should think AWS is an Apple. Everybody else is an Android, because Apple was the first one to create a smartphone with touchscreen, right? Everybody copied it. AWS is the first one who created AWS platform. Everyone else copied it. So you have to develop this culture of distinguishing the brand, and they follow different languages here, right? Like MacBook is MacBook, not a laptop. iPhone is a iPhone, not a mobile phone. Likewise here, all these data center locations are not called data center locations. You call them region. But language wise, you're absolutely correct. These are all data center locations. If I click on Mumbai, there's a data center in Mumbai. It's a data center location. If I click in Virginia, there's a data center in Virginia. It's a data center location. But you will not call this as a data center location. You will call them regions, right? Brand distinguish. You'd like to follow the brand here, and they want you to call region. In examination also will mark region. You'll not call them data center location. Technically, you're right. But in AWS world, you will not call that. You will call them regions. So we have these many regions available, right? I'll go to Virginia. We'll start from Virginia, the most oldest. So when I say the most oldest, does not mean that they have old hardware sitting there, right? They have new data centers and new hardware, but it was the first one to come with AWS offering. right? And the first service that you see in the list is EC2. EC2 stands for Elastic Cloud Computing, ECC or EC2, right? Why are we calling it EC2, right? Why don't we call it as a place where you create virtual machines? This is exactly a place where you click to create virtual machines. You create your Windows and Linux machines here. But why are you calling it as a EC2? Why are you not calling it as a this is a place where you click to create virtual machines? Because it's a brand, right? They have everything. They have given names for every tools and every services. There is a name, there's a nomenclature. You're expected to follow that, right? So I'm going to call this EC2 or a place where you create virtual machines, right? And EC2 stands for Elastic Cloud Computing, ECC. So the short form is EC square or EC2, right? So when I click on EC2 here, when I scroll down, I'm in Virginia region or a data center location. And under Virginia, there are 6 data centers available. Data center 1, data center 2, data center 3, data center 4, 5, and 6. And again, the same nomenclature. We will not call them data center locations, we'll call them availability zones. We will not call this data center site, we will call this regions, and we will call this availability zones. That means in each region, you have multiple availability zones, or in each data center location or data center site, you have multiple data centers. One example. So let me take this example further. Let me go to Singapore. So in Singapore, in one region, excuse me, in one region you have 3 availability zones or 3 data centers. In Virginia you had 6, you have 3 here, right? So in Singapore you have 3 data centers, in Virginia you have 6. If I further go, let's go to Mumbai, my favorite, right? So if I come to Mumbai here, in Mumbai I have only one region and I have 2 availability zones or 2 data centers. So that means anywhere that you go, minimum you will have 2. Minimum you will have 2, maximum you will have 6. In some regions you will have 6, in some regions you will have 5, 4. Singapore I showed you had 3. Mumbai you have 2. So minimum you will have 2. There's not even a single region that you will find 1. You'll always have 2, and maximum is 6. Right? So if you're following labs along with me, I want you to select a Mumbai region here. I want you to select a Mumbai region and I want you to perform labs with me here, right? So this is my Mumbai region. So the first thing that I need to do once I'm done creating my accounts is I need to go to limits and I need to check. So click on limits on the left hand side. Then you will do Control F and look for micro. Right, I will come in a moment. I'll tell you why am I behind micro, but you have to do Control F and look for T2 micro instances. You need to have minimum of 5. If you have more than 5, great. Though AWS has given me 20, I will not be using all 20 here, right? So please check, quickly log into your AWS management console and confirm how many machines you have. I'll give you 60 seconds for you to log in and check and confirm and tell me how many machines you have. And how many have 0, please confirm. How many zeros you have, please confirm. How many 1 and 2 have, please confirm. If you have more than 5, okay. Nupur has 0. Praveen also has 0. So only 2 people have 0. How about others? How many others have? Devi, Kian, Mahesh. Sure. What is it that you want me to help you out with? Sure. I will give you a link. Just click on this link. Okay. To check the limits, go to services, go to ec2 here, right? Go to services on the top, go to ec2. Once you're on the ec2 screen, on the right hand side, you select Mumbai region or whichever region you like to work with. If it is Virginia that you want to work with, it is up to you. Select the region respectively here, whichever region that you think you want to work with. And then on the left hand side, go to limits and then control F and then type micro and search. Or I have given you a link. If you click that link also, it will take you to the location here. So SK has 20, Praneeth has 10, amazing. Mahesh also has 20. Saddam. Saddam, you have joined the session, but you're not seeing my screen, Saddam.
Hello?
All right.
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sorry. Actually, my keyboard have a problem as well, so I couldn't type it very well. I am in Mumbai region, but on the left side, that this bar comes for the limits. I don't know how to get there. In my screen, it not coming. Yeah, this area, it's not showing actually.
Which browser are you in?
Uh, I'm in Google.
Chrome?
Yeah.
Do you want to refresh your page?
Uh,
Or maybe you're already in limits. Do you see these entries here?
which entry?
These entries.
No. I just can see my region and I click on region like Mumbai I select, but this left side, the EC2 dashboard, it nothing that option coming.
Okay, what does it say there? It says your account is not activated.
Hold on. No, it's activated, but it's not showing anything.
Share me your screen.
Yeah.
Devi, what problem you have with your account, Devi? Saddam, I gave you the website to register. Sure, you can share your screen and I'll help you out. This is the first session so that I can help you set up all your accounts. Go ahead,
I
buddy.
share my screen. I share my screen. I think so. You able to manage my screen?
No, I'm seeing Devi's screen right now.
Okay.
So Devi's already shared the screen, so let me look into that
Okay.
quickly here.
Okay.
So Saddam, I have given you a link, Saddam, so that you can register your account. Okay, there is something wrong with request clear your cookie cache. Try doing this in the Chrome. So you're already in the Chrome. No, I think go back to the previous screen. There's a case that you have clicked on. Yeah, go to the case screen. Go to services on the top. Go to EC2. Okay, so the problem is you have not verified or you're not given your credit card information. So you need to click on credit card information, the third link. Is that the right credit card information that you have given? Click on make payment. Make payment on the right hand side. Right, not left, right. Okay, you do not have a transaction. Okay, go to dashboard, go to services ec2 again. Click on the first link, complete your AWS registration. Okay, give a US phone number and let AWS call you. Once AWS call, you have to answer and you have to verify the IVR. Call me. There was a problem with your payment information. Sign into your account and complete. So try doing one thing, try delete the payment details that you have given and re-add the payment details. Make sure that the card address matches. Click on edit. So is that the right address? The screen is getting recorded, Divya. Can you stop sharing your screen? I don't want to capture all your details here in the recording. All right, so it should be confidential. Okay. Share me your screen here. Keyur.
Yeah. Uh, the view sharing your screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I switch now. Okay. I think I did.
Nope.
Okay. There is options screen and the second one is sharing your screen, right?
Yes.
And switch now. Launch this meeting to.
Okay, I think you have joined this lecture through a web browser. You need to
Download.
download and install the Chime software on your computer to share me your screen.
Okay. Yeah, I started downloading. And I realize I think I have same problem, something like.
Huh. So if you have a similar problem, try completing the registration, and if it is prompting an error stating that the card information is incorrect, perhaps you might want to go back and edit the card information, make sure that the card information is right, the expiry information is right, the address is right, the phone number is right, and try that again, and your account should get activated. And make sure that you log into your account and check what card you have and what statement address you have. Sometimes what happens, you give a different card information and different address that does not go with the card. So if you log into the net banking, it'll exactly tell you what address that you have given to the card, and then you have to use the same details.
Okay, the reason why actually I double checked yesterday, that was
Mm-hmm.
a problem with my credit card. It didn't go through. I mean, I think I called you or the trainer from WhatsApp group, and I resolved the problem, and that was working. But I don't understand why it's happened. Uh,
Okay,
it,
you might want to go back and check again, right? Maybe after this call, or I can help you out to set this up. Do not worry about that. These are
yeah.
some of the hiccups that you usually get. Most of the students usually undergo through these hiccups, but once you sort things out, it should work. You just have to check the address, the card information, the statement that you on which the card is addressed on, and then you can figure that out.
Okay, thanks. I actually even download this browser, but it's still not sharing my screen. I don't know why.
That's okay. So try completing the registration. It's the same thing again. I do not, because these calls are getting recorded. I really do not want your payment information to be recorded here. If it is any other technical problem, I would be more than happy to look into that. But if it is a payment related information or error that you have, you can let me know the error message and I can direct you to fix that.
Okay.
So everybody else, I think, mail verification is not done. Nope. Okay, so everybody else have the account then, except Divi and except Kainur. Everybody has an account. Okay, fantastic. Right. All right then. So the couple of things that you need to know. Right. Why does Amazon needs your card information? It'll try to run the authorization over your card. If you're in US, they'll try to debit $1, and after 48 hours, they will credit the dollar back from to your account. And if you're in India, then they will try to debit 2 rupees from your account and then revoke that money back in 48 hours. This is just to ensure that if you exceed free tiers, they can charge you on that. But in this training, I will ensure that none of you will exceed free tier and none of you guys will get charged. In an event where you exceed it, I will help you out to get the waiver. Whatever the amount irrespective of that, I will help you out to get the waiver. So with that said, this account is truly free for 12 months, but there is a metering on every resources that you consume, right? For example, today in today's lecture, we're going to focus on EC2. So let's understand EC2 in detail here, right? So EC2 says 750 hours of resources that are available free. So how much is 750 hours? So let me pull up my calculator here. So if I say 24 hours a day into 31 equals 744. So Amazon is giving you resources that is beyond 1 month. That means you can run EC2 one EC2 instance, one Linux or Windows EC2 instance for the entire month, right? And this will auto renew next month and then next month for remaining 11 more months. So for next 12 months, the services will auto renew, right? And every month you have adequate resources to consume. But if you have 2 instances or 4 instances that you parallelly run, ensure that you do not exceed 750 hours total. Otherwise, you will exceed free tier and they will charge you on your card. So time and again, when I'm working with services, I will tell you how to consume that, how the metering works to ensure that you adhere to the free tier and you stay within the free tier to avoid any charges. I hope, buddy, and Divi, update me on your account registration. Did it go through now? King, are you working on your account? Right. So people who have zero instances, right? People who have zero instances, in order for you to complete your labs, first thing what you need to do is you need to click on this link which says request limit increase. You will click on request limit increase here. Kiang, right? So once you have clicked on that, select EC2 instances from the list here. This will ask you in which region. You can select the region respectively. I will select Mumbai here, and then it'll ask you the instance type and select E2 micro. So instance increase limit is already selected. So you can say give me 10. And then don't try to be greedy and ask 20, 30 or 50. Amazon will not give it to you. Start with small, start with 5, start with 10, right? And then you can write your message here. Dear sir, madam, as I'm preparing for AWS training and examination, I see that I have a zero quota provided to me. With this, I would unable to perform my lab, hence requesting you to
Hi,
give me a desired quota.
sorry to interrupt. Can you go little up in your screen? I think I am at the same page. You helping me, but okay, thanks.
right? So you can say, dear sir, madam, as I'm preparing for AWS training and examination, right, I realize that the quota given to me is 0, hence requesting you to give me at least 10 instances or 5 instances, whatever the number that you think, so that I can prepare for my training and examination. So you have to select that. So once you have done that, and once you type your message, select web, and then you submit your request. And usually this request will take about 24 hours to fulfill. Once the request is accepted, you will get an email and you will have the desired quantity of instances so that you can practice your lab, right? So one more time, make sure that you select these fields and you complete your request. So write it in your own language that you're preparing for AWS training and examination for which you need these machines, right? All right, so let's proceed forward. Finally, instances. I will explain you all these sections here, but today is a first class. I'll try to keep it a little light here. Some of you do not have an account, and some of you are still thinking to start an account after this class, and some of you already have an account here. So try to keep my first class light. In subsequent class, we will do complex projects, right? So I'm in an instance section. So this is a section where you will be creating a Windows or a Linux machine. This is a section where you'll be creating Windows or Linux machine. And to create Windows or Linux machine, you have to click on launch instance, right? You can call it as launch VM also, but as I told you before, brand distinguish and you'll call it as launch instance, right? So there are a couple of machines that are available. Amazon Linux is available here, and there's nothing called as Amazon Linux in real world. You might have heard of Red Hat, Fedora, CentOS, half a different versions of Linux distributions that exist on the internet, right? But Amazon Linux is one of those that you might have not heard, right? So what is happening here is what Amazon has done. Amazon has taken the Red Hat derivative, right? You have Red Hat derivatives such as CentOS, you have Red Hat derivatives such as Fedora, right? So you can also download one Linux distribution, you can change your name and you can call it as Saddam Linux or Divi Linux, right? You can make your own Linux software also, and that is what AWS has done. They have taken advantage of open source and they have labeled it and they're calling it their own Amazon Linux. But the advantage here is Amazon will continue to support this operating system and its life cycle with security updates, bug fixes, patch, all other aspects of your operating system. AWS will help, right? And AWS will provide those to you. So this is Amazon Linux, and this is not something that you can download and you can create machines elsewhere. This is only exclusive to AWS and it is only available here, right? But apart from that, enterprise favorite, you have Red Hat. Those of you do not know, IBM purchased Red Hat recently. So now Red Hat is a part of IBM. You have SUSE Linux here, very popular from Micro Focus. You have Ubuntu from Canonical, and everyone's beloved Microsoft, right? Microsoft Windows. So first lecture, I'll try to keep it light. I will build a Windows machine and I'll show it to you. Select, or before selecting, let me go back and let me show you a couple of other machines that are available here. You have deep learning machines that are available, right? Nupur was asking questions on deep learning and artificial intelligence. There's one on Amazon Linux that is available here. Microsoft Windows Server with container. There's a deep learning machine of Windows version that is available, right? And you have to always make sure that you select machines where you see this title, free tier eligible, right? Wherever you see this sticker or a badge, you will only select that machine. Point number one, right? If I come down here, the couple of machines where there's no free tier eligible. So if you don't see it, don't try to build it. If you build it, you have to pay money for it. So going back, right? AWS is the only organization that is still supporting Windows Server 2003, right? Azure themselves do not support this. So Windows Server 2003 is also available, right? But it is not free. You have a couple of other things. You have a .NET Core version that is available. .NET happens to be a Microsoft product, and it is now supported on Linux. and a lot of other Windows versions that are available here, right? So for this lab, I'll be selecting Microsoft Windows Server 2016 base. And if you see the hypervisor type, it is HVM. We discussed it here. HVM is right here, right? So this is the HVM version that we'll be selecting to perform our lab. Select. All right. So this is why I was behind micro here, right? If you select any other instance category, for example, right, if you go to an apparel store, right, what is the first thing that apparel guy will ask? Hey, welcome. What is your size? So if you're hefty like me, you will say, give me an XL. If you're a leaner person, you will say, give me a small or a medium, right? So this is a language or a nomenclature that you will use with an apparel store guy, letting him know what exactly that you're looking for. And that is what AWS has done here, right? AWS has pre-sized all the machine configuration. In your traditional data center such as VMware or Hyper-V, you have flexibility of selecting one core CPU, 3 GB RAM, or all the permutations and combinations you can put together. All the permutations and combinations you can put together in your traditional data center. But here everything is fixed, right? And this is called capacity planning, right? I have worked under my senior for almost 11 years. Always I go back to my senior and say, hey, why are you giving 2-core processor and 4 GB RAM? What is the thought process behind that? And he does not know, right? Simply creating machines, simply giving whatever they feel like. They don't know the head, they don't know the tail, right? So nobody can get capacity planning right? There's a thought process behind it, there's a research that you have to do, and most of the time none of us gets capacity planning right. So Amazon understands that and they have automated it. They have created all prefix lab. For example, if I select Nano will give me 1-core processor. If you see here, one virtual CPU it will give me, and then it will give me half a GB RAM. And network is also pre-configured. If you have a very small machine, you don't need 25 gigabits network port. A traffic, it cannot handle traffic. That machine does not have a capability to address so much of traffic. So mostly low to moderate traffic it can take. So likewise, if I select micro instance, which happens to be free for me to create, even if I select nano, I have to pay for it, remember. So micro, again, 1-core CPU and 1 GB RAM here. And network is low to moderate. Now if I select small, 1-core CPU, 2 GB RAM. If I select medium machine, it is 2-core CPU, 4 GB RAM. You're getting my point, right? Network is all pre-configured. So the idea here is you cannot go wrong. Any machine you select, it is the right size all the time. It is always right size. You don't have to do capacity planning. You will never go wrong. Let me give you an example here, right? Now, if you have a larger processor, too many cores, and if you have a smaller memory, right? Let's say that you have gone to a shop. Let's say you have gone to a pani puri shop, right? And you will say, hey, give me pani puri. And if he's giving you pani puri one at a time, by the time he creates a second puri, you have already swallowed the first one, right? And after one another. And if the pani puri guy is taking longer than usual, then you're holding the plate and sitting there doing nothing. You're ideal, right? But if he prepares all the pani puris and give it to you together, it will take some time for you to chew and finish. You should think this methodology like that. If you have a smaller processor and larger memory pool, your memory can buffer large amount of data in it and can continue to feed the data to CPU. And your CPU will spend less ideal time doing nothing. All the time it will be working because it is fed by the memory. If the ratio is wrong, if you have too many cores and less memory, then as soon as the data comes into your memory buffer, your processor will check, process the work, and then sit idle and do nothing. And you don't want that to happen. Hence, you want to right size in such a way that your processor is always fed by your memory and your memory is large enough to hold the data there. You're getting my point. So that is a thought process behind this so that you cannot go wrong. Any machine you take, a ratio of your memory in your processor is aligned in such a way that your memory would continue to feed the data to your CPU and your CPU will spend far fewer time sitting idle. right? So all the ratios are here. For example, you have 4 core 16 GB RAM you have, right? Now here you have 2 core 8 GB RAM. Now let's argue that Sohail, I need a machine which has 12 GB RAM. I'm sorry boss, you're out of the luck. The ratio is wrong. It does not work that way. Excuse me. You got my point? So a ratio has to be correct. 8 core 32 you have, 16 core 64 GB, 48 core 192, right? And likewise, if you, the higher the memory you take, you get see up to 10 gigabit Ethernet port. You have 10 gigabit here. So even larger machines that you take, right? A machine with 384 GB RAM, you have 25 gigabit of network connection here. So all the permutations and combinations that are available here that you can pick and choose. You have machines that can go as high as 2 terabytes and 25 gigabits of gigabit port. And on the left hand side, if you see here, the family clearly says general purpose. Okay, for most of the standard compute workloads that you work with. If I further come down, these are all compute optimized, thread intensive softwares that need a lot of compute, a lot of threads to process. Compute optimize, GPU optimize. If you're doing artificial intelligence, machine learning, genome sequencing, you have machines with higher GPUs, right? If you further come down, this is memory. If you have e-commerce websites which has to store a lot of cache information, then you can take memory optimized machines here. You have storage optimization machines. So all the machines are pre-configured, pre-tested, and whatever the use case that you have, you can pick any machine confidently and you cannot go wrong. So in today's lecture, I'm going to take T2 Micro because this is the machine that is free. It says free tier eligible. First class, not going to focus on networking much here. So I'm going to skip the screen and I'm going to leave it everything default here. But in subsequent classes, I will cover this in detail. Right now, a storage section is showing up here. So in my previous section, it asked me how much CPU I want, how much memory I want, and how much network I want. Based on the small, medium, large, extra large machine that I select, my CPU, memory, and network is pre-configured. I cannot change that there. But storage has a flexibility where I can go up and down. I can change whatever I want. Now, since it's a Windows machine, minimum 30 GB is required for Windows. If it is Linux, you can take 8. Some distributions require 8 GB, some require 10 GB minimum, and maximum is 16 terabytes. Maximum storage is 16 terabytes. If you need more than 16 terabytes, you can add another storage. Right? You can create another storage here, one more, and up to 24 volumes you can attach. I can make this 100. This is 200, whatever I want, right? So it is simple. While creating a machine itself, you can add multiple volumes or you can go and change your original volume. You can make this 300. But remember, only 30 GB is free. Free tier, 30 GB storage is free. Anything more than that, you have to pay for it. So since we are doing a lab here in first lab, we don't need 300 GB. Let's stick with 30 for now, right? And then there are 3 type of drives that are available. General SSD. You have provision IOPS. This is a faster storage medium. It can do higher read writes on the storage. This is a traditional magnetic that we see in our computers in our home. A typical SATA drives is what you see here. Nobody uses this, but there are some applications that does not work on SSDs, and therefore they're still supported here. But otherwise, general purpose is great. Add a tag. So it says, hey, add a tag here. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to call this as first project, first Windows project. Right, just going to name my machine here. And security group, it's asking me, hey, what ports do you want to open to allow the traffic or to bring the traffic inside? I'm going to call this again, first Windows project. And it knows that it's a Windows machine, so it is automatically open RDP port. I need a couple of other ports here. I think HTTP port is another port that I want to add. And if you see the list of ports that are already available, right? In today's lecture, I want HTTP. So I will select HTTP, right? And then review. So just giving a quick summary what I have done. I have selected Windows Server 2016 base. This is a T2 micro flavor which happens to have 1 core CPU and 1 GB RAM, and network is low to moderate here. And storage, if I go here, it'll tell me I have selected 30 GB storage. And if I go to tag, it'll show me this is a Windows first project that I'm creating, right? A quick overview on what I have done here. And if you see the entire stages, choosing an AMI, choosing the instance type, configure instance, add storage, add tag, configure security, all the screens that I went through is an orchestration screens. This is an orchestrator screen which took all the inputs from me, and based on the input it is showing, hey, these are the inputs that I have given. The moment I click on launch, it will go and take those automation workflows. For Windows Server 2016, it will take an automation. If I would have selected Linux, it would have taken something else, right? So it's now going to take those automation scripts, sequence them in an order, and start shooting them to create my project now. So I'm going to click on launch, and then I will select create a new key pair. And remember, this is very important. Amazon do not save a copy of this. And if you're lost, you cannot raise a ticket to get this key back. This is like your ATM pin. You don't lose your pin. You lose it, a bank will allow you to reset it. But in case of AWS, you don't get to. So you will not lose this key. Create a folder and save it properly. And I'm going to call this key as AWS access key for Mumbai. So I'm just going to label it like this, just for me to remember that this is a Mumbai key, this is access key for AWS. And I'm going to click on download here. The moment I'm going to click on download, a file gets downloaded, right? So you need to click on download. This step is important here, right? So I'm already having a key that I will be selecting it. Since it's your new lab, you need to click on download this key. As soon as you're done downloading, you need to click on launch. You need to click on launch. So let me select my existing key that I have already created. There's an existing key that I'll be selecting for this lab, and then you click on launch. View instance. Now this is a Windows machine that I'm creating, right? And Amazon has automatically given or assigned a public DNS. This is called fully qualified domain name. There's a fully qualified domain name that is associated with this. There's an IP address that is associated with this instance. This is the public IP address. This is not a static IP address. This is a DHCP. That means if I reboot my instance, the IP will change. Then there is a private DNS, and then there is a private IP. Right. So likewise, if you see, it has automatically created this in the second availability zone or second data center in Mumbai. So maybe the first data center is busy, right? There are too many machines there. So Amazon has decided to put my lab in the second data center. My security group, in case if you're unable to connect your machine, you can always come back and click and see what inbound and outbound connections you have. It is telling me what machine it is. Windows Server 2006 English. Platform is Windows here. Again, my key, I've used my existing key here, but I did show you how to create your first key, download the key, and then launch the instance. This machine has only one network card. If you see here, ET80, only one network card this machine has. What else? And virtualization, HVM. Hardware virtual machine, which is a derivative of Zen that we discussed. And this machine was created. Now there's a timestamp that is also available here. So this is still initializing. Usually it will take 3 to 4 minutes if it is Windows. If it is Linux, it typically takes about 1 minute to create. So while this is creating, I have created a Google Classroom. Let me add you and give you a request there so that after this class, you guys can download this lecture. So guys, can you quickly drop me your email address in the chat so that I can copy paste it here and give you access? Only after getting 10 instance limit I will be allowed to create. Yes. So minimum is 5. If you have 0, you cannot do this. But if you have 10, you can. Only what are the other things I have? Okay, does hourly gets counted when the instance is stopped? No. If the instance is stopped, your meter will stop. If only if your instance is running, the hourly count will happen. Kiyor, could you mute yourself, buddy? Guys, requesting you to please keep yourself on mute. If you have your questions, you're free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can put the questions in the chat. Okay, duration of this course 40 hours. Usually 5 weeks it will take to complete. Limit is, I see there's no methodology that they measure. Some people will get 5, some will get 0, some will get 10, some will get 20. It is all randomized. There's no thought process behind this, and there's no documentation on AWS that clearly tells me that how they calculate um, the instance allotment there. Right, when I started they gave me 2 in A, then later I wanted it more, so I said give me 5. Right, some students started getting 20s, so later they automatically increased me to 20 and never asked them for 20. So it happens that way. There's no preset process there. And there's no way that they have documented that what methodology that they follow to allot this instance limit. Right, so I'm hoping that the instance is ready. So I'm going to click on actions now, and you will see an option which says get Windows password. I'm going to click on get Windows password here, and it says, hey, you need to retrieve it. Now remember the key that we created, AWS-access key-Mumbai. I need that key. Right, let's go back and add that key. In my case, the key name is people. Click here. In your case, you will have that key. So I'll select the key here that I have created. Right, I have downloaded my key here and I have given the key to my system. Decrypt password. Now my password is decrypted. Let me copy this. I've got my password. You can copy the DNS also, or you can copy the administrator. Administrator is a very easy username that I can remember. Public DNS also I have here. And if you see here, it's the exact same public DNS that it is reflecting. I can use my public DNS to connect, or I can use my IP address to connect. Right. So let me use my IP address to connect. Start. Remote. Paste my IP address here that I have copied. ADMINISTRATOR. Connect. Connect again. Okay, it is asking me for a password now. I have copied the password. By the way, guys, you can change it. You can do Control Alt Delete and in the Windows machine, and you can change it. It's up to you. Yes. So probably gonna give about 30 seconds for Windows to settle down. It is doing its thing in the background. So probably another 10 seconds I will wait. I may know that I've done this several times. So there's some background things that is happening. So probably gonna give it a couple of more minutes here. No. Okay. So on the right hand side, if you notice, if you pay attention here, it is reflecting the instance ID, the public IP address, the private IP address. It is telling you this is a T2 micro machine, right? It is also telling you it has about 1 GB of RAM. And this is also clearly articulating that it is running on the second availability zone because it says AP-South-1B, right? So I think my machine is ready right now. So now what I want to do is I want to publish a simple project here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on start and server manager. I'm pretty sure that you guys are already aware in what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to publish a page here, right? I just want to keep it something very light for the first lab so that you guys can get hang of AWS. It's a very easy piece of tech that is easy to pick up and learn. It's doing its own thing here in the background. You guys can hear me loud and clear, right? Okay. So add role and features. Next. Next again. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to install a web server on Windows machine. So Windows usually comes with IIS, which is a web server. I'm trying to find that web server and I'm trying to deploy. So if you see there's a web server here, web server IIS, select. Yep, add this feature. Next again, next again, and then next again, next, and install. So it should take a couple of minutes and this should be done, boys. We are getting there now. Hmm.
Hello.
Yeah, buddy, go ahead.
While this I downloaded browser. That's why that thing happened. But I able to share screen. Can you look? Is it right time?
No, after the lecture.
Okay.
So this lecture will end in some time right now. I think we still have 20 minutes right now. So after the lecture, I'll look into that. So do you want to join from that software and do you want to drop from the web browser? You can close the web browser and you can join from software.
Yes, I already did it.
Okay. All right. I think this is done. It does say that view installation progress and it says installation succeeded, right? I think it's good. Close. The next thing that we need to do is go to local server and there's an option which says IE enhance security configuration. Right click, go here and then you just turn it off for now at least. Usually you don't do this in production. So let me refresh. Okay, now it is off. I think we are ready now. So let's go back and publish our first page. Don't use recommended setting. Okay, not bad. Google is working. Okay, so what I'm going to do is in today's lecture, I'm going to download a ready-made website that is available off of the internet, and I'm going to use that. To do that, you can go to HTML 5, numeric 5, up.net, hit enter, and this will take you to a web page which allows you to download sample templates. A lot of sample templates that are available that you can pick and choose from. You can download it, you can play with it. Let me see which is nice. So I think I will take this project here. And no bias, whichever you feel that you want, you can take it. I've clicked on download and then I will say save. Okay, so open folder. Okay, it seems this file is in zip file, and if you see the location, this is running on the download directory. Let me unzip this, extract all, extract. All right, so all the files I have here, let me copy these files, select all, and then I'm just going to copy these files here. And let me go to this PC, C drive, inetpub, and then there's a www root directory that is available here. Right, this is a directory that I will be replacing these pages with, but before that I need to check whether my web server is working. So let me copy this IP address to test whether the IAS that I installed is working. Go. Okay, it says information services. Okay, I think it is working right now. I can now go and publish it. Let me paste it here. Okay, so now let me go back and check. Refresh. And there you go. So this is my first project and this is running off of that Windows machine that I have created. So let me give you the IP address so that you guys can click on the IP address. In auto scaling, how Windows machine join. Buddy, for that you have to wait, Mahesh. For that, all the questions that you have, I will answer it. There's a practical lab on auto scaling that I will demonstrate and show. So have patience here. There are a lot of questions that you have. I cannot cover that in first class, right? So we have to go. So kindly bear with me on that. So I've given the IP address. I want you to click on this IP address and tell me whether you're able to see the published project. Are you able to see this? Just click on this IP address. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the name here. So I'm going to go to index and open with. Now remember, I'm opening the index file here. And then I'm going to open this in Notepad. Right. And then what I want to do is I want to change this words, right? So let me do that. Let I have to find that words first. Okay, it is right here. Something like this, right? So I'm going to save this now. File, save. Now, if I go back and if I refresh this page, see, Mahesh has too many AWS questions. Kindly wait, all your questions will be answered. So I can further customize this. I can customize all aspect of this page. I can put my photo here. I can treat this as my digital resume. I can make this as my digital resume and I can publish this. Pretty simple, pretty neat. I can go change numbers here. I can change my email ID, my address, right? So this concludes today's lecture, boys. Right. So this is how you can build your first basic project. So is the new website reflecting for you? Are you able to see the new project? Okay. So great then, right? So I have your email address. So after this class, I'll give you access to the Google Classroom, right? And those of you who are not on WhatsApp, those of you who are not in our WhatsApp group, please leave your number. I will add you to the WhatsApp group, right? So that I can share today's lecture also. I'll be sharing today's lecture that we have discussed in the WhatsApp, and the download video will be available in Google Classroom. So this is, I know most of you are already in the WhatsApp. People who are not in the WhatsApp, kindly drop in your numbers also in the chat, right? Okay, so what number is it? It's an India number, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Praveen, is it India number or US number, Praveen? Okay, I'll figure that out with him. Right then. So before I conclude today's lecture, guys, do you have any more questions for me? Yes, Mahesh, go ahead, unmute yourself and shoot.
Yeah, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Actually, I opened the account somewhere maybe around 5, 6 months back ago. But how I can able to check the how many months or how many duration the free tier I have been left? So could you able to share me how from
I
where I can?
am also not sure,
Okay,
but let me figure out for you. Just give me a moment here. AWS Management Console,
I'm not sure actually. I'm where I registered, but from last 7, 8 months I'm using. But
my account. Mm, does not show my account here. Billing. Okay, so I think under billing you can go and then you can
yeah,
check the amount of billings that you have. So
yeah.
the last billing
Oh
that you
yeah,
have will tell you,
yes, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. The date I think
right?
it has started from the right. Probably it will show
Y-
on that.
Yep, I have this account since December 2017,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
right?
No
So
problem.
next question, guys.
Hi, this is Praveen.
Yeah, Praveen, go ahead.
Can you please explain me orchestration?
Orchestration. Okay,
Yeah,
so when I say orchestration here,
yeah.
so if you see this guy here holding a stick, he's an orchestrator. and all these people are musicians here. So what this orchestrator would do is orchestrator will tell the musicians, hey, play higher note, play lower note. But he will not use his vocals to tell them to play the higher or local note. He will use his stick to instruct each musicians pointing at him to play the melody. Right. So this is how the words have derived in the IT industry. Right. One orchestrator will tell all the musicians to play the music and create a melody. So this is the terminologies that they have picked it up from a music industry and they have brought it to IT. So what orchestrator does is orchestrator will collect the inputs from the user, right? So for example, I created an EC2 instance here. So let me click on launch instance. The moment I click on launch instance, the screen that you see here is an orchestration screen. So based on my input, it will take my input and it will use the automation later to sequence them. For example, if I say I want this particular Linux machine, right? So it what it will do is this orchestrator will go and pick an automation script which has a workflow and instructions to pick this ISO to launch it. Step one. Now instead of T2 micro, I will say small. So the orchestrator, this is a second orchestrator screen, which is going and picking up a T2 micro automation script, which has hardware specification pre-written into that, right? Now when I go to configure here, and if I go and explicitly say, put this machine in the first availability zone, so now orchestrator is going and picking up the script which has an instructions to create this machine in the availability zone 1, right? So when I say add storage, I'm going to add two storages here, one 10 here, the other one is 20. Now this orchestrator is going and picking up an automation script which has instructions to create a primary volume 10 GB and secondary volume 20 GB. Right. So usually what's happening is an orchestrator is taking the scripts, taking the automation scripts and sequencing them in an order based on the user input. And once you go to a final screen, once you launch, it will execute those automation stage by stage, right, to create a virtual machine and give it to you. So automation is a set of instructions. Orchestration is a set of automation instructions, line them together, and it executes in an order.
Yeah, I got it.
Next question, boys.
Is it necessary to get the certification for the job?
The answer is yes and no. So if you're working with
Okay.
top MNC companies, they will emphasize on getting a certified resource versus a non-certified. It also depends with your college graduation. There's some companies they're okay to hire a diploma guy, but most top MNCs wants graduate students to work or graduate candidates to work, and there's some companies who are very exclusive in terms of which college you graduate from. Right, there's specific
Okay.
categories of colleges such as IIT and Kharagpur and other thing where they only prefer those candidates. Most will prefer BTech graduates. A majority of them prefer BCAs, right? And even more majority of the people will prefer diploma. So it is similar to that. The certain organizations which give preferences to a graduate or a certified student versus a non-certified candidates. But I have seen in an event from a job perspective, there are organizations that have hired candidates and who have also sponsored $150 for them to go and clear the exam and come back. Right. Or in some cases where they have told them, hey, you write the exam and come, we will reimburse you money. So that situations have also happened. So it depends from project to project and organization to organization. Both are applicable.
So you have to be prepared to get soon certification.
I will prepare you. We have DUMS. We will go through the DUMS. We'll prepare you for that, and we have a very good success results in terms of cracking examinations.
Okay. And like how much time we're gonna get like a job after training? So like if we start training here, so it will be like.
See, my students have got jobs while they are working. Sorry, while they are attending trainings also. There are students who have spent 3 months. They have not got job. There are students from 1 year who are still trying to look around. Right. See, I'll tell
Depend
you
on
the art.
performance.
It is not about performance. They don't open mouth. Right.
Okay.
How much a trainer can do? Trainer can feed knowledge. Trainer can do your resume. Trainer can prepare you for the interview. Trainer can give you jobs. At the end of the day, you have to crack an interview. And if they're not opening the mouth, it is difficult, right? Trainer can only push, prepare, do all the necessary things that are needed, right? It is you who needs to remember things, and you need to pick up the art of cracking an interview. So there's a mixed results. I have seen the sharp candidates are very successful, and some not so sharp candidates come back for a revision, attend for a revision, and try another attempt. I am a slow learner, and that is why it takes time for me to learn things multiple times, and I understand that, and that is why the initial phase of this lecture, I made it very clear that you are entitled to receive unlimited revisions. You can, if you don't make it up for a job, don't worry, come back, attend trainings again, go back and try. Right? So we are very flexible with that.
Okay. Oh.
So
Yeah,
next question, guys.
actually, my background is BA, and I don't have any coding stuff of experience. So, is it necessary to get into this AWS? I have to learn coding too.
Ask me a question again, but you're not clear.
Actually, I don't have any coding stuff of experience. So, is it necessary to?
Yes, yes.
Mhm,
It is not only necessary to AWS, it is a next ask in the IT industry today. It
mhm.
is, if you go and check any job description on the internet today, right? They expect you to have 4 skill sets. The skill set number 1 is knowledge on operating systems such as Windows and Linux. Skill set number 2 is knowledge on cloud, right? If you're going to take up this, AWS will be your cloud knowledge. And I have seen use cases where one candidate learn one cloud. Once he learns, he goes back and sign up Azure and start learning what he's learned here. Go to Google and learn there what he's learned here. So there's a very common practice that I see from a student. Once you learn one cloud technology, you start jumping others and to learn all. So cloud is a second technology track that you need to learn. Third track is DevOps, and fourth track is an automation. And all this plays a significant role for you to succeed and crack your interview. And these are all the common asks that you see on monster.com, LinkedIn, Google, everywhere. They ask you a multi-skilled resource who has various aspects of this knowledge.
Okay.
Hi
Uh,
everyone,
Next
this is
question, guys.
SK.
Go ahead, SK. What's your full name,
Just a
SK?
follow up, Sai Krishna.
Sai Krishna. Hey, Shah Rukh Khan. Tell me, Sai Krishna.
Yeah. So just a follow up thing. You were mentioning about the DevOps and automation thing, right? So
Right.
till what level of DevOps we are gonna cover? Are we
I'm gonna cover
gonna?
all the assembly line, the entire assembly line of CI/CD, right?
Mhm.
Starting from your tools, from your source code, from your build and test, from your deployment, and then monitoring and reporting. The entire cycle of the DevOps 360-degree that we will cover.
Oh, okay. So are we gonna cover the you mentioned the configuration management, right? Like any other configuration management tools, like we're gonna cover Puppet or Ansible?
Puppet is there, Ansible is also there, Chef is also there. Configuration management tools are part of the syllabus. We will cover tools, but we will not cover writing scripts for the tools.
All right.
So next question, boys.
I have about like a Nipun that ask about programming stuff. That
Mhm.
like my background is non-programming too. So you suggesting me to go ahead and continue this training or like
Python, take up Python, right?
Python?
See, Java is very difficult to pick it up. It's a notation language, object-oriented base. It's very difficult to pick it up. Python has a very good success rate. The language is more like writing an essay or an English if you get the logic right, right? See, you
Okay.
need to understand that you need to be relevant. I'll give you an example what is happening in the market today, right? So when I started my career with data center. I was a Windows guy, moved into VMware, then moved into Linux. There's several areas that I happen to work in this duration. Guys, put yourself on mute if you don't have question. Elumalai, put yourself on mute, right? So when I started my career with data center, but the teacher under which I learned data center, that guy was working in mainframe. He started his
Uh-huh.
career in mainframe. I did not do mainframe because there were no jobs available. I did data
Oh,
center, I did .NET. Now today, if you see kids that are coming outside college, right, 20, 22 years, kids that are coming outside college, Those kids are not doing data center. Forget about mainframe. They're not even doing data center. They're not doing virtualization because market is saturated and they don't have jobs. They are doing cloud because there are a lot of job opportunities that are available for freshers for cloud. Likewise, they are not doing COBOL, they are not doing FoxPro, they are not doing .NET, right? They're all doing Python, React JS, Node.js, right? All these new modern fancy languages, right? Because it is easy to pick up, and there are jobs that are available. Now, tomorrow, if I want to be those kids' manager, if I want to go
Mhm.
and manage them, then I have to also learn cloud. I also have to learn Python. Otherwise, I cannot manage them. I cannot be their manager. You're getting my point. So I have to see what is happening in the college and where the kids are, new kids are going. And if you want to be relevant with them and if you want to be a part of their team and work with them, then you have to follow them, you have to learn, and you have to be ready. Otherwise, you will be left behind. And then the kind of a traditional skill sets, you'll have far fewer jobs, far fewer openings, and there are far too many people to apply for the similar position because market is saturated. There are too many people who are looking for a job in the same domain. But if you get into modern domains such as cloud, artificial intelligence, blockchain, data science, right? Anything that you do, you need to have some sort of a even for an AI, you need to have programming language. Blockchain, you need it. Machine learning, you need it. Deep learning, cloud, DevOps, some amount of automation language experience that is needed. Right. Otherwise, you will not be relevant, and somebody else, the college kid, will come and take over your job. You're getting my point. So it's a very
Yeah,
competitive world that we are in. What we learned in our college is not what we are doing today. Right? Every 2 years, every
yeah.
4 years, you have to take a journey. For example, I started my career as a Windows monitoring guy. I was campus recruit, looking at a screen, seeing okay what issues I have, alerts. I used to write it down in my notepad, send an email to my L1, L2, and L3. That is how I started my journey. Moved into technical support, moved into VMware, happened to work with some of the world's biggest architects. VMware market was saturated. I was looking around what is next for me. Moved into Linux, moved into AWS, then moved into DevOps. Right. So my journeys throughout I was learning, and what I started my journey with is not what I'm doing today, and what I'm doing today is not what I'll be doing 5 years from now. 5 years from now, I will not be teaching AWS. Perhaps I'll be teaching something else that is relevant in the
That's
market
okay.
and that is where the
Whatever.
market is moving. You're getting
You're
my
right.
point,
You're
right?
right. Yeah, I do
So,
understand. I do agree. But my real background is like my bachelor's is from accounting commerce. I did it, and I was here on student visa before receiving green card. So I had master's degree in IT from here, but not programming knowledge, or that's why I was like looking for something
you learn
like
Python
easy.
and it is easier. If you know just
Yeah.
2% of Python, see you. See, you might get into a position where you don't have to write a code, but at least you should
Okay.
understand the head and tail of the code. There are a lot of codes that are available on the internet that you can download it, you can
Yeah.
modify it, you can reuse it. Everybody
But
does
sir,
that.
you said you gonna make us to crack an interview or anything. But what would
Yes,
be scenario in worst case? Like you instead of interview, you help as like a straight interview, or just I have to crack my interview.
you have to crack your own interview. We don't do on-job supports. All these US
Okay.
guys, I'm very clearly telling you, don't come back and say I'll pay you money and do your work. The lot of requests that I get where you say I'll pay every day 2 hours, you have to do my work, you pay. I am not in for it. It is unethical for me. I am gonna make
Ra-
each one of you competent. I'm gonna tell you the direction. I'm gonna
Okay.
motivate you, support you, push you, and we will give you lifetime on-job assistance. You will still do your own job. If you have hiccups
Okay.
and if you have roadblocks, there's a portal that we have built along with me. Your seniors will help you out to rescue, right? But at the end of the day, nobody gonna sit and do your job. Getting my point, right?
Yeah.
So all those
Yeah. I get it.
aspirations and expectations are something that I've been telling all my students is no. Lot of inquiries I get from US through LinkedIn and others. It's unethical for me and I will not do it.
Okay. No, I get that, but I want to clear too. So yeah, understand. Okay.
Okay, I have one more question here from Suraj. I have done AWS Architect Associate, want to do professional. Without training, how come you have completed Architect Associate, buddy? You must be genius here. All right then. So I will take your leave for today, right? So I will help him out to set up his AWS account. And if you have issues with your AWS account, you guys can stay back. Otherwise, we will conclude today's lecture.
Hello.
Yeah, buddy, go ahead.
Hi, bro. How are you, bro?
I'm fine, buddy. Tell me, how can I help you?
I have one small doubt. I think I already we covered.
Okay. I did not understand your question. What question that you're asking?
Uh, yeah. Actually, Windows server, no, Windows instance already we covered some topics. So I have some topics regarding for that. If you lost the password, how we gonna get up? Again, the same instance for the password. That's what my question.
Wait, so if you lose the password, don't worry. You just go back to actions again on the top here and click on get Windows password. Click on get Windows password and choose the key again. And then decrypt the password and you get your password back.
Shokai,
Mm-hmm.
this is not my question. I know this. Geeta already she has this doubt for you, right? In that sometimes she got password for Linux or Windows. After she
Mm-hmm.
lost the password, she asked how to reset the password and how to same instance she will be running to the same machine. So she asked the same question.
Right. So to do that, you have to wait for the service delivery class. In the service delivery class, I will show you how you can use a run command and you can generate the password. So by the way, those of you who do not know, Elumala is joining here from a revision batch. He's here for a revision. So he's asking a question from another revision here. So for that, you have to wait for SSM class, buddy. Then I will show it to you on how to run the command and how do you reset the password.
Hello.
Yeah, buddy, go ahead.
Yes. Are you going to teach CLI?
Yes, I'm going to cover CLI also.
Okay. Another question is, I tried to launch that AWS and
Mm-hmm.
then submit, then it says no submit found. And
Yeah, because you have
submitting
deleted,
trigger when it launching into.
hold on, you have deleted your VPC. So can you share me your screen? I will tell you how you can fix this.
No, okay, sure. Screen shared. You got it?
Not yet.
All right. Adding this. Never used it this time, so let me see.
Have you joined from web browser or have you joined from native Chime client?
Native Amazon Chime.
Okay, so click on the top and you will see screen. Click on the screen down arrow and you will see an option say share screen.
Switch. Here say add attendees and meeting bridge info. Hello.
You have to come here and you click on screen and you will see an option called share screen here.
Sharing your screen. I already shared this. And then say switch now.
Mm-hmm.
Here add attendees and meeting bridge info. So which one I have to click?
You need to cancel both. And if you see my screen, you just click on the down arrow of the screen and you should see the option called share screen. See my screen where I'm clicking.
No.
You don't see an option which says share screen?
Yeah, I saw that. It's
So click on
as in,
share screen and select everything. What's happening, buddy?
let me see again. Um, switch in a team desktop tabs.
Kayur, can you share your screen, Kayur?